President Ibrahim Traoré's radical fish release, a gamble for sovereignty. It was not gold or oil that Ibrahim Traoré poured into the veins of Burkina Faso. It was fish. 150 tons of live tilapia, carp, and catfish released in a single day, cascading into the country's rivers like silver rain. The world watched in shock. Soldiers stood guard on wooden boats. Villagers cheered from the banks. Cameras captured waves of life-flooding waters that had been silent for years. To outsiders, it seemed reckless. Why would a poor, landlocked nation gamble scarce funds on fish? Why not roads, hospitals, power plants? But for those who understood Traoré's vision, the answer was clear. Because food is power, and survival is sovereignty. For decades, Burkina Faso depended on frozen imports from Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire. Local rivers were depleted. Families went hungry. Wildlife vanished. Generations of leaders accepted this dependency as inevitable. But Traoré refused. By restocking rivers with fast-breeding fish, he wasn't just feeding villages. He was declaring independence. Each fish symbolized resilience. Each wave of water carried dignity. The release was no stunt. Traoré chose resilient species, tilapia, fast-growing, carp and catfish, hardy enough to thrive in varied rivers. Within months, nets grew heavy again. Fishermen returned to their trade. Women sold fresh tilapia in markets. Children tasted protein for the first time in years. Food security was transforming into political security. Because a hungry nation can be manipulated, but a fed nation stands strong. Traoré's message was sharp. A hospital treats sickness, but food prevents it. A road may carry goods, but it does not feed a child. For him, the fish were more than food. They were control over survival, loyalty, and sovereignty. Critics laughed. Economists called it madness, but villagers saw rivers come alive again, and pride returned with every catch. Across Africa, the images went viral. A young leader on a boat, releasing life into rivers instead of begging for loans abroad. In Mali, Niger, and Nigeria, youth movements celebrated him. Delegations traveled to Ouagadougou to study his methods. The phrase fish diplomacy began to circulate. Suddenly, Burkina Faso was not a symbol of poverty, but of possibility. Of course, dangers remain: illegal fishing, corruption, pollution from mining, foreign cartels resisting change. But something irreversible had begun. Communities guarded rivers. Youth groups patrolled waters. Villages rebuilt hatcheries with their own hands. What started as a presidential gamble was becoming a national movement. At first, the West mocked the plan as spectacle. But as statistics rolled in, imports declining, malnutrition dropping, markets thriving, mockery turned to unease. Because if fish could shift the fate of Burkina Faso, what might happen if all of Africa embraced food sovereignty? Would aid agencies lose their grip? Would foreign agribusiness lose billions? Would Africa finally free itself from dependency? For ordinary Burkinabe, the answer is already clear. Fishermen earn again. Mothers feed their children. Wildlife has returned. Markets thrive with local supply. Traoré proved that sovereignty can be reclaimed not only with guns, but with rivers, nets, and life itself. So we leave you with this question. If a landlocked nation dismissed as powerless can gamble on fish and win, what else might Africa reclaim with equal daring? Was it madness, or was it freedom? Comment your thoughts below, share this story, and subscribe if you believe that dignity is as essential as bread, because they mocked fish. But fish fed a nation.